Okay, so hello everyone. Good day. So I hope you are doing great. For today, we are already okay. We will be continuing our class. So this would be a recorded session. So we had already discussed this in a live manner. Okay, nag-discuss na ko ani on our last nga meeting, which was Thursday last week. Okay, I'm sorry if wala ako naka-upload any earlier, which is it's supposed to be last Tuesday. So, okay, let's continue. So, we are already on again chapter 2. So, it is about quantitative demand analysis. So, ako lang siyang i-discuss again para mas nice and I meant nga kuan yun siya ninyo. Um, ma-take note and mas masabdan ninyo ang kaninga chapter. So, again, I had already discussed this one more on the durami taman sa um earlier pa nga topic. So don't worry. So let's continue. So chapter 2, quantitative demand analysis. So here is our lesson roadmap. We have objectives, the elasticity concept. We have own price elasticity of demand, cross price elasticity, and income elasticity. So this is our lesson roadmap for this lecture or for this chapter. So medyo taas siya. So please do fasten your seatbelts. Okay. More on from the word itself, quantitative demand analysis. More on numbers. So I want you to really take note and at least have some piece of paper there and a calculator if possible. So let's continue. So our objectives, you need to calculate and interpret demand and supply elasticity values. So this would be the opening quote. We must achieve both security and solvency. In fact, the foundation of military strength is economic strength. So this is our opening statement. More on um, if ever we will have economic security, food security, and so on and so forth, I hope we also have solvency. Okay, solvency in terms of we can solve our problems. Again, for security, manggod more on kada bitaw we are already we are secure with our food. We can provide our own food. Um, we can provide our own, especially sa atong country, maka-provide og jobs for everyone. So there is a security. And also, I want us to focus more on solvency too, in which solvency talks about ginasolve niya atong mga present and probably future problems. And you also know there is military strength. Kusog ang atong military or other aspects sa government or sa atong nation if there is economic strength. If our um, country is progressing or really developed, so there is economic strength. Again, we can stand alone as a nation. So if that is established, there is economic strength. Again, dako kay taghalin, we don't need to rely on other probably countries in order to survive or in order to develop or progress in our country. Then probably our many aspects such as our military would be strengthened. Okay, so this is a very nice quote or statement. So again, it also goes down to our economy, okay? Importante gud our ang ato ang ekonomiya because it plays a very big role that determines how our progress as a nation will go. So first is we have the elasticity concept. So this is the first topic. So the first one would be elasticity. So we had already talked about demand and supply. Now we will be talking about elasticity. So what is elasticity? So it is a measure of the responsiveness of one variable to changes in another variable. Actually, um, there is elasticity. So elasticity is actually a measurement, okay? Economists has kana bitong galibog sila as to what measure should we use in our graph. So, okay, I'll have that an example. So as to what measurement to ang gina-use sa ato ang graph. Okay, so where was it? Oh, sorry, it's here. So as you all know, we have the demand and supply na graph. So, kabalo na ko unsaon pa graph. So, okay, we have example this one. Okay. Oh, so in a minute, so di na ko hiwi mag-curve. Again. Oh no. Okay, as you can see, diba, we have our curve here. We have mostly price and quantity. Okay, actually, mag-differ man siya. Example, ang commodity daw kay milk. So, milk is measured by liters. That is for probably quantity by liters. So, how about the price? Probably Philippine peso, dollar, and so on and so forth. So, because daghan kitag measurement nga gina-use, economists has decided to make one type of measurement as to which we can measure how responsive or sensitive one variable to changes in another variable there is. Because as you all know, the main variables in the demand curve is we have price and the quantity. So more on unsa daw ka sensitive or how responsive daw ang example. We all know baya gyud ha nga our price it's either mo change mo increase siya or mo decrease. It goes the same with quantity. It can decrease or it can increase. So they fluctuate over time. So with the elasticity we will know if this curve or example this commodity. So we have milk for this commodity how responsive or how sensitive it is when it comes to a small change, especially in um, price and quantity. And also, there are other variables na we need to consider. We also have the other shifters. Okay, we have other shifters, both for demand and supply. Okay. In a minute. So we have other shifters. Okay, this one. As you can remember, we have shifters for demand. So example for shifters of demand, we have the income. Okay, income, income, substitute price of related goods, substitute normal goods, um, more on demand advertising, and so on and so forth. So there are many shifters aside from our price. So shifters moves the demand curve. It's either upward, okay, upward or downward. So that is for shifters. Okay, example. This is the demand curve. So it's either upward, which is it moves upward an increase in quantity, or downward a decrease in quantity nga demanded. So that is the shifters for our demand curve aside from our price. Okay, most of the time, um, there is change due to price. So aside from price, we also have shifters. So that's for demand. So how about our supply? What are the shifters for supply as far as you can remember? So for supply, we have shifters such as um, taxes, such as government regulations. We also have input prices. Okay, input prices and etc. So there are many shifters too for supply. So as you all know, this is our supply curve. It's either it goes upward, okay, and in an increase in our quantity supplied or a decrease rather a decrease in quantity supplied or downward an increase in quantity supplied. So there are many things to consider when it comes to knowing how responsive one variable is to another. Like as I said, price to quantity, income to quantity, um, input, prices of input, price of related products, and etc. So those are our variables, our shifters, as well as our price and our quantity. So, honest lang itong variables who will play a very big role when it comes to measuring our elasticity. So, more on responsiveness of one variable to changes in another variable. So, the percentage change in one variable that arises due to a percentage change in another variable. So we'll have an example. Okay, I'll just erase this one. So we'll have an example. So I think kabantay mo ang price for gasoline. So modo ni ang ato ang product, gasoline. So for gasoline, example, di ba ang price for gasoline for now, I think let's assume nga 68. Okay, dako na ka ng 68 pesos. Then it had ni-increase daw siya og 0.50. So gamay ra gud kay nga increase 0.50 centavos kunuhan. But the quantity demanded, example, first is for the first price or price 1, it is 68 pesos. Kung 68 pesos daw, the quantity demanded would be 100. So, modo na ang kuan kanang normal nga price daw sa gasoline. So, how about if it has increased? Okay, so na-increase daw siya. So, price 2. What about if niadan siya og at least 0.50 centavos? So, from 68, okay, 68 68 pesos, nahimo siya 68.50. So, imagine, again, ni-increase siya og by 50 centavos. So, how much do you think would be the quantity? How would it affect our quantity nga demanded? So, probably instead of 100, which is our normal na quantity na gina-demand, probably ni lessen siya into at least 50%. So, at least ni lessen siya into 50, ni gamay ang nag-purchase o gasolina kay 68 pesos man siya per liter, from 68 pesos to 68.50. So, a small change in price dako na ka siya impact sa quantity nga gi-demand. So, that is elasticity. So, grabe siya ka-sensitive. Again, small change lang ha. Gamay ra ba ito nga change sa price, only 0.50 centavos ang ilahang kalahian. But, look what it made. Okay. Look what it made it do sa our quantity nga gi-demand. So from 100 unta nahimo na nun siya 50. So that's how sensitive our, again, this commodity is, gasoline is. So that's example for elasticity. So we have also another example. Okay, we have this one. As you can see, this is actually how we will uh, this is actually the formula of our elasticity. So example, um, quantity of x and a variable. So let's have price. So px. So this is the formula. Is equals to the percentage change in the grades and percentage, no, percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in price. Okay, price of x. So this is its formula. EQX is equals to um, EQX is equals EQXPX, in which um, there is a change in percent change in quantity demanded and percent change in price. So this one, kidding triangle, is what we call a delta. A delta is means, okay, it means that there is change, okay? Constant na yung meaning sa tanan. So delta means change. So a percent change in the variable of quantity demanded and price of a certain product. So let's have this example. So we have the elasticity of grade and studying. So percentage change in grade and percentage change in studying. So we have this formula. So elasticity of grade and studying is equals to percent change. We can also change put it like this one. So same lang gyapon na sila. Percentage change of grade over studying. So percent change in grade and studying. So this is the formula. So this is for elasticity. So as simple as that. So let's solve this formula. But we have things to consider, or many aspects to consider. So let's have an example. What if your percent change in grade, or your expected imong grade bitaw nga gusto i-get is 100. So gusto ka og 100% na grado. So perfect na grade. So how about, let's just not put the percent. So 100 nga grade but your studying level is only at least 50. So how much would that be? How elastic would that be? So the answer would be 2. So we will have an answer here of 2. So elasticity is 2. So we will be interpreting this one. So this is again an example ha. Kung mag-study daw ka, example, ang imong gusto nga grade is 100. So your expected grade is 100. So the formula would be 100 divided 50 equals to 2. Okay. Okay. So equals to 2. So let's continue. So that is its elasticity. So we need to interpret the result. Okay. Ato na siyang i-interpret. Okay, so I hope you had followed. Okay, so let's put it again. So example again, let's have this one. Again, your percentage change in your grade is at least imong gusto nga i-attain kay 100 and your studying a percent is only 50. So wala daw kay kaga study, chill ra daw ka mo study. So we will be using this formula. So we have 100 over 50 in which the answer would be A2. So mo ni siya ang answer. So let's interpret this one, but first we need to know what are the aspects or things that we need to learn first about elasticity. So these are some of the important aspects of elasticity. So first is whether is it positive or negative. So if positive daw, an increase in um, studying would lead to an increase in your grade. While if negative, an increase in studying leads to a decrease in your grade. Okay, so let's continue. So let's have this one. So the first aspect we need to know is that whether it is a positive or a negative. So if positive daw siya. Okay, if positive daw siya, that means an increase in your studying would lead to an increase in your grades. So, kuan daw siya more, yung relationship is positive ang iyang relationship. Given nga, mo increase daw ang imuhang studying nga level. Example, from 50, nahimo siya og 70. So, probably, instead of 100 nga grade, mo taas pa gid siya, mo 150 mo ang grado. So imagine how good would that be? So if it is a positive. Okay, so let's continue. So how about if it is a negative? So kung negative daw siya. Negative is equals to if kuan daw, there is an increase in your studying, then it would lead to a decrease in your grades. Okay, bali daw ni siya. If magsige daw pud kag study, mugamay daw imong grado. So again, from the word itself, negative iyang relationship, that means nga opposite sila. So again, mo increase ang imong studying nga pattern, it would lead to a decrease in your grade. So this is the first aspect you need to consider when it comes to the elasticity. So as you can see, again, the first one, whether it is um, positive or negative. Okay, in a minute. Okay, the first one would be whether it is a positive or a negative. So as you can see, the positive relationship, both would increase and it goes the same, it both would decrease. So, negative kung bali siya if there's an increase in your studying, a decrease in your grade. So, let's look at our first example. So, we have the first example here. So, it's A. As you can see, it is a positive 2. Okay, no need na for the plus sign. So, klaro kayo nga once nga wala na siya plus sign, it is already as good as a positive. So as you can see, positive man siya. So that means, again, From the definition, if mo increase daw ang imuhang studying, which is 50, so probably mo increase po daw ang imuhang grade. So for 50 daw nga studying, there is an increase in your grade. So that is a positive na sign. So let's continue. So that is for the first aspect, number one. Okay. So number one. So how about number two? So what would be the second aspect? So the second aspect is whether it is greater than 1 or less than 1 in the absolute niya nga form. So I hope you know what an absolute is. An absolute is kana bitang regardless of a number. Like example, I'll put negative 2. So the absolute of negative 2, um okay. Absolute is actually denoted with two straight lines, parallel lines. Like this one. Absolute of negative 2 is it would be 2. So example, absolute of 2 is 2. So again, absolute is regardless of the sign. So for the second aspect, we need to know this one, whether it is, again, greater than 1, okay, greater than 1 or less than 1. So let's solve this one. So the first one is if it is greater than 1, that means that a small change, okay, gamay daw nga change sa imong studying will lead to a large change in your grades. So this is how I will be explaining it. Again, kung greater than 1 daw siya, so gamay ra daw nga change imong studying habits, it will lead to a relatively large change in your grade. So dako daw siya impact sa imong grado. So that's for greater than 1. So how about if it's less than 1 daw ang imuhang ang result? If it is less than 1, that means so a percent change in percent gamay nga change sa imong studying will lead to gamay ra pod nga change sa imong grades. So that is for whether it is a positive or I know whether it is greater than 1 or lesser than 1. Actually, we also have equals to 1. So this is unitary elastic. That means nga kuan siya equal lang daw imuhang quantity no, equal lang daw imuhang studying and ang imuhang grade. So that is its interpretation. So this is the second thing you need to consider, whether it is greater or less. Again, kung greater than 1, dako kay siya og impact or change sa imuhang grade or sa isa ka variable. So if less than 1, gamay ra daw nga change, gamay ra pud ang iyahang change nga mahimo sa imuhang isa ka variable, and so on and so forth. So let's continue. So we will be looking again. Okay, magtan-aw ta sa atong example. So as you can see in the example, it is greater than 1 because it is a 2. Okay, greater than 1 siya kay dos man siya, dos. So that means nga gamay ra daw nga change sa imong price, which is the 50, will lead to dako nga impact sa imong grades. So same lang gyapon kaganina. Again, um at gamay nga, okay, in a minute. Okay, so let's continue. So again, as I said earlier, relatively small change daw sa imuhang studying. So gamay ra nga change imong studying would create, okay, a small change in your studying would lead to a bigger or a great change in your grades. So that is for the interpretation of our example kaganina sa imong grades. Grades is to studying. So elasticity of your grades and your studying. So that means for every 1% daw, for every 1% change in your studying will lead to at least 2% change in your grades. Okay, so this is an example on how elastic this commodity is, or this situation is. So these are the two aspects that again you need to consider. So okay, I'll be putting it here na lang. So the interpretation with our result, it goes something like this. So we would have two. So for every, okay, for every 1%, okay, for every 1% change, so this is how we will be interpreting it. For every 1% change in your, in studying will uh, leads to a 2% change, okay, will lead to a 2% change in your grades. So will lead to an increase, to an increase, a 2% increase change in your grades. So that is how it is being interpreted. So again, I'll delete this one. So for every 1% change in your studying, um, it will lead to 2% increase. Okay, 2% increase change of your grade. Okay, of your grade. So I hope you take note of this one, of your grade. So this is how we will be interpreting it. Okay, in a minute. So where's my katong zoom out? In a minute. Oh, so mo na gid ni siya. So sorry for that. So let's continue. Oh no. So that is how we will be interpreting it again. Again, di ba ang score? Okay. The result is 2. So for every 1% daw nga change in your studying, it will lead to at least 2% increase in your grade. So that is how we will be interpreting it, given that we need um we need to know what are the important aspects of elasticity. Again, whether it is positive or negative, and whether it is greater than 1 or lesser than 1. So let's continue. So that is the first example, okay, for our elasticity. So let's have another example na lang. So you will have the general concept. Okay. So let's continue. So as we all know, the equation for elasticity is EQX and PX. So example, that is its general equation, equals to the percent change of um, QX, okay, quantity demanded over percentage change in the PX. So that is the equation for elasticity. So let's have another example. So what if we have this commodities, okay? We have a commodity, atong commodity is not your studying siguro. So let's have, okay, pwede day studying. So let's have, or let's assume nga ang imuha daw studying is gusto ka og 100 nga grade, but imuha rang studying is at least negative 50. So let's have this as an example lang ha. So negative 50. So the answer would be a negative 2. So as you can see, it is a negative 2. So from the sign itself, that means nga, okay, the first sign, it shows a negative here. So because it shows a negative, that means um, if there is an increase in your uh, studying, it will lead to a decrease in your grade. So that is for the positive. So increase in studying daw kay mo decrease daw imong grade. So mas The higher the negative, the lesser siguro ang imong grado. Probably mas maglibog ka or di ka kasabot sa topic or sa subject. So probably that there is an inverse relationship with you and studying. So next is it is greater than 1 in which it is a 2. So kay 2 man siya, that means nga um, it is bigger than 1. So gamay ra daw nga change sa imong studying. It will lead to a large change in your grade. So example, imo siyang gi-change. So instead of -15 ni kuan na siya ni -25. So gamay nga effect probably mas mo decrease og samot ang imuhang grade. So that's another example. Okay. So as you all know, 100 divide 45. So we have 4. Okay, so mas ni kuan siya ni bigger ang ihang number. So the bigger or the higher the number is, the more the impact would be. So example -25, so mugamay probably pagyud ang imuhang grade. So that is how it is going to be interpreted. So now let's continue to the next topic. So again, that is the elasticity. So overall for elasticity, again, it focuses more on the measurement lang as to how sensitive the graph is or how sensitive the current market is, especially as per the commodity. And as what I had this talk earlier, so actually elasticity has at least three types. Okay, we will be discussing these three types now. So we have the first one, we have the own price. Okay, own price elasticity. So I'll be putting it that one. Second is we have the cross price. Okay, cross price elasticity. And the third one is our income elasticity. So I'll just put income E. Okay, income elasticity. So these are um, the types of elasticity on how we will be solving them or measuring them. So the three main concepts or types of elasticity. We have again own price elasticity, second the cross price, and the last one is the income elasticity. Okay, so let's continue. So first we will be talking about the own price elasticity of demand. So from the word itself. Okay, we have this one, own price elasticity. So I'll put own price elasticity here. So let's continue. So what is own price elasticity? So it is the measure of the responsiveness of the quantity demanded of a good to a change in the price of the good. Okay. From the word itself. Um, Measurement of the quantity demanded to a change in the price of that good. So we will be focusing on the own price elasticity of demand. Okay. Of demand ni siya always. So we have this formula. Again, elasticity, general niyang formula, quantity of X and the price of X. Okay. Price of X kay moment atong ginapangita. So whatever we put here would be the variable that we will be looking for. So we are going to look for the own price elasticity. So from the word itself, price daan sa imuhang um, commodity. So own price elasticity is equals to percent change in quantity demanded of good X over percent change of um, price of good X. So this is the general formula. So we have an example here. So ang own price elasticity of demand daw is -2. So would that mean that a 10% increase in the product price would lead to a 20% decline in the quantity demanded? So as you can see, example, we'll have as what it says, 10% daw ang increase sa product price. So um, we have it here, 10% in the product price and 20% daw ang sa um, quantity demanded. So that means we will have a 2. Okay. We have a 2% here. So the answer is a negative 2%. So in a minute. So this is an example, okay? So so the answer is actually a positive 2. So 2% daw. So let's just assume nga negative ni siya. Lahi ni siya nga numbers din ang iyang gigiven. So the assumption would be a negative 2 daw. So the own price elasticity of demand is negative 2. And would that mean that a 10% daw nga increase? Okay. With 2% daw, 10% daw nga increase sa product's price would lead to a 20% decline on the quantity demanded of that good. Given nga, negative man siya. Okay. As per the interpretation, as I said again, so for every, kuan daw, for every, I hope you can see my writing clearly, 1% change in price, okay, leads to 2%. 2% decrease in quantity demanded. Okay. So that is its interpretation. For every 1% change in the price leads to a 2% decrease in quantity demanded. So a 10% decline, okay, medyo taas yun ang iyang interpretation. So 10% daw nga decline would decline sa price would lead to, oh no, sorry. So, a 10% increase in the price would lead to a 20% na decline sa imuhang quantity nga demanded, given nga it is a negative ang iyahang sign. So, that's how we will be interpreting it. So, as you can see in the um, example. So, a 10% again increase in the price would lead to a 20% decline given it is a negative. And 2% man siya kung yung absolute is only 2, so greater than 1. That means again, um, if it is greater than 1, small change in the price will lead to a big change in the quantity demanded. So that is the example. Okay, so let's continue. So we have at least three types of own price elasticity of demand. So we have elastic demand. So more siyang same lang yapon ani, okay, dili di ay. So let's put it here. So we have at least things to consider too under own price elasticity of demand. So we have first one, we have elastic demand. Okay. Elastic. So elastic demand means the absolute value of the own price is greater than 1. So we will say nga elastic siya if greater than 1 siya. So as you can see in our example, so this is greater than 1. So this curve is an elastic demand curve. So this is an elastic demand. Given nga dako siya og impact especially in its absolute value greater than 1. So how about the second one? We have inelastic. Okay. Inelastic is the opposite. This is less than 1. Okay, I'll just put it here. So inelastic means less than 1. So probably the answer would be 0 0.5, 0 0.99, and below. So that is less than 1. The less than 1. So that is for inelastic na din siya itong ginamin. So inelastic means nga as what we know based on their interpretation, inelastic siya if kuan kanang less than 1 daw siya if there is a small change lang daw sa example sa variable price gamay ra pud siya og impact or change sa quantity demanded. So that is for inelastic. While for elasticity, again, a small change in the price creates a big change in the quantity demanded. So that is for inelastic and elastic. And lastly, we have unitary elastic demand. So when the absolute value of the own price elasticity is equals to 1. So this is what I had told you earlier. So unitary is equals to 1. So equals to 1. So the absolute value of the own price elasticity is 1. So that is when equal lang daw ang kuan, ang atong price and atong quantity demand. So they are equal or in consensus. So that is unitary. So again, we will be calling the graph elastic or that demand as elastic if it is greater than 1, inelastic if less than 1, and unitary if greater than 1. So price increases will reduce consumption very little when demand is inelastic and considerably larger when it is elastic. So, from the definition, mo increase daw ang price if there is gamay ra daw nga demand. So, under inelastic, as I said, kung um, gamay ra iyang price, oh, in a minute. So, kung gamay ra daw iyang price, gamay ra pud ang iyahang quantity demand compared sa inelastic. If gamay ra daw ang change sa iyang price, dako siya impact sa quantity demanded. So that is the difference between elastic and inelastic demand. So I hope you had got it. So first, we'll have an example first. So hatagas at mo example para mas masabtan pag ninyo what is the own price elasticity of demand. So focus at sa own price. So I'll give you another example. So, we have this formula. So, I think familiar na kayo mo nga formula. Okay, in a minute. Ako kan siyang padak-an, no? Okay. I hope you can still see it clearly. Okay. So, let's use this formula. We have, okay, quantity demanded of, okay, quantity demanded of goods nga katong beer, nga tong example. So, this is the formula. 500 plus, oh no, negative din lang relationship. Price of beer. So this would be again price of beer plus 4M, which is income. Ang M, okay, I'll just put it here. Plus 4M plus 5 advertisement plus 2 PW or the price of wine. So this is the example given the formula. Okay, so this would be the given formula. Let's use this one and find the own price elasticity of demand. So as you can see and know, we have this formula for elasticity. So quantity of X. So um, no, that's not X. It's beer. So quantity demanded of beer and the price of beer. So moment itong ginapangita, the own price elasticity of the demand. So that would be katong kuan, percent change in the quantity demanded of beer over percent change in the price of beer. So this would be the formula that we will be using. So let's continue. Okay, so let's continue. So this would be again the formula for elasticity. So let's look for the again the price of the own price elasticity of this demand. So as you can see in the graph or in the demand function, okay, linear demand function, this is the only variable in which it has the price in it. So atomang focus again is the own price elasticity of demand. So we will just be ignoring the other variables that needed. So this is the again what we will be looking for, the own price elasticity of the demand, in which it has a derivative of 10 and price of beer. So this will be the formula that we will be using. So as per based on, okay, in a minute. So based on the equation, given equation sa ato ang elasticity, we have this one. So we will have elasticity of quantity demanded of beer and price of beer is equals to, okay, is equals to, we will have a negative 10 multiplied by PB. So we will have this formula, PB over, okay, multiplied by PB over QB. Okay, I hope you can see it clearly. So I'll be writing it again. So elasticity of the quantity demanded of beer and the price of beer, given own price elasticity. So we have negative 10 multiplied by PB, okay, PB over QB. So this would be the formula that we will be using. As you all know, and C na ang negative 10. Okay, because it is a derivative and part of the um, function, which is this one, negative 10 PB. So this is the formula that we will be using. So negative 10 times P and B. So we will be assuming, okay, ato na siyang i-assume that the price of beer would be at least 50. So let's have that example. And the quantity of beer nga demand is at least 400 daw. So medyo daghan siya. So let's solve and calculate this one. So we have negative 10 multiplied by 50 over 400. So what do you think would be the answer for this one? So it would either be, okay, let's solve for this one. So negative 10 multiplied by 50 over 400. So that would give us a negative 5 over 4 or negative 1.25. So this would be the answer with regards to our problem. So the problem would probably be nga, solve for the no, solve for the own price elasticity given this formula. So again, ato naman nakita that would be a negative 10 PB. So that is variable. Okay, so let's continue. So we will be using the this formula, equilibrium, no, elasticity equals to negative 10 multiplied by the price and multiplied by quantity of beer. So 50 over 400, we have a negative 1.2. So how would we interpret this one? So we could say that for every, okay, that for every 1% change in your, okay, what was that? In your price of beer, uh, will, so it is a, again, a negative, will decrease, will give 1.25% decrease. Okay, will give 1.5 decrease of quantity demanded. Okay, of quantity demanded. So that would be the interpretation for um this problem. Okay, so mo man siya itong example. So as I said, negative siya. Okay, as you can see, it's a negative 1.25. So from there itself negative. So for every 1% daw nga change, okay, 1% change sa price, okay, will lead to um a decrease, at least 1.25% do ang decrease sa quantity nga demand. So that is for the own price elasticity. I repeat again, you will be measuring how elastic this curve is given the price itself. So price man atong gipangita, own price elasticity sa beer daan. So we will be using this formula again. Let's just change some variables and we will have a negative 1.25. Okay, so this would be the interpretation then. For every 1% change sa price of beer will give a 1.25% decrease in the quantity demanded of beer. Okay, so I hope you had learned or understand that one? If not, let's have another example. So we'll have this example. So what if I'll say the okay, what if mas simple ang atong equation? Let's have um quantity demanded of our shoes. Okay, quantity demanded of shoes is equals to 800 less and 3 price of shoes. So that is the simple equation. Now I want you to solve for the own price elasticity of demand. So solve for the own price elasticity of demand. So again, moment ang iyang gipangita own price elasticity. So we will be using this variable. So we will have elasticity of quantity demanded of shoes to the price of shoes is equals to um, a negative 3 multiplied by the price of shoes over the quantity of shoes. So the answer would be a negative 3 multiplied by, okay, let's have the quantity I can given. So the price of shoes is probably, let's assume it's 50. Okay, 150 na lang daw ang price sa sapatos. And the um, quantity supplied would be, okay, in a minute. Okay. Quantity supplied sa tag 150 nga sapatos would be at least 500. So, daghan pod siya. So, again, let's solve for this one. So, that will be a negative G multiplied by 150 over 500. So, the own price elasticity of, okay, in the minute. So, the own price elasticity of our shoes would be, okay, 150 divide 500, that would be 0.3 multiplied by 3. So we have a negative 3.3. So this would be the um, elasticity, own price elasticity of this commodity, which is the shoes. Okay, again, 150 divide 500 multiplied by, uh, where is the negative here? Okay, sorry, okay. Home calculator na misplaced. Plus a negative 3. So I'll just assume this is a negative 3. So I'll just be using this one na lang instead. So pardon me. So we will have again 150 divide 500. So that is 0.3 multiplied by, okay, where is the negative here? So wala siya negative. Okay, this one. A negative 3. Oh no. So again. So I'll have this one 0.3 multiplied by a negative 3. Oh, so need ko mag-negative first. Negative 3. Negative multiplied by 0.0. 0.3 rather. Oh, so we have 0.9 rather. Sorry for that because my calculator is out of nowhere. So the answer would be a negative 0.9. So negative 3 times 0.3. So modo ni siya ang answer. So imagine this one. So we will be interpreting this own price elasticity of demand. So the interpretation would be, so as you can see, it is a negative. Okay, kay negative man siya. So for every 1% change in the um, supply, so I know price, for every 1% change in the price will lead to a decrease. Okay, decrease siya. So in every 1% daw nga increase sa price. Okay, so bali. So for every 1% daw nga increase sa price, it will lead to a decrease in your quantity nga gi-demand. So because it is a negative and now it is less than 1. So that means less than 1, this is an inelastic. Okay, inelastic demand. So the first one, 1.25, this is elastic. Okay, elastic demand given nga its absolute value is one greater than 1. Well, this one is less than 1, so that is inelastic. So that is how you will be solving the own price elasticity of demand. So let's look at this table. So let's solve this table too. So sa'yo na kayo siya guys actually. So we have the total revenue and elasticity. So this is table 3.1. So first, we'll have this equation, madunong given. QDX is equals to 80 less 2PX. So we will be calculating our own price elasticity of demand. But first, we need to plot the table first. So we have the first one, the first table, okay. So, example, I have this. The first table. Okay, medyo hiwi ko. I hope this is kuan. Okay na. So, example, we'll have this one, this table. So, pardon for my medyo hiwi-hiwi yun kay ko. Mag-draw. Okay. So, let's have this example. Okay. So for the first column, we have letter A and letter B. So letter A, B, and C daw na siya. So this one, the second column would be the price. The second would be the quantity demanded. Okay. Nakoy mas nice din, mas madali ninyong masabtan. So I think familiar naman gyud kayo mo ani. So we will be solving the again price elasticity. Ato ning i-solve or complete ang table. So actually you already know this one. We have price and quantity. So price and quantity yun na always ang ako ang ginahimo. So this is a T. So T ni siya actually price and quantity. So ako siyang buti ang A, B, and C. So let's have these as example. So for A, B, and C. So the price daw is, as you all know, in order to get for the price, we need to multiply it first with 0. So price is 0. So let's solve for this one. Okay, this would be the formula. So let's solve first for the price. Okay, for the price, as you all know, we will be assuming that the price would be 0 in order for us to get the quantity demanded of X. So 80 minus 2 times 0, we will have again an 80. Okay, so as easy as that, 80, you just need to fill up the blank. So example, you decide what number you would put. So probably magbutang na ko dan og prices of 5 and 10. So atong gi-follow ang table lang gid actually. So example daw is ang price kay 5. Okay, this one. So let's solve for the again the quantity. Okay. Quantity of x. So let's solve for that one. So 80 minus 2 times 5. So that would be a 10 minus 80. We will have a 70. So do you think this one is correct with our table? So yes, this is correct. So sakto nga to ang pag-calculate. So as I said na po, imoriging ipang-change ang ato ang kuan given nga this is a demand equation. So i-change lang nimo ang price kay given naman siya. So negative 2 times 10, that would be a negative 20 less 80. So we will have a 60. So I hope you can follow. So you want, I think kabalo na magyud mong solve ani. So if not, let's just review na sad again ha. So this is how I will be putting it. So example, okay, ito sa A0. So we have ang price daw kay price is equals to 10. So let's solve for this one. So that would be 80 minus 2 times 10. So the answer would be 80 minus 20. So we will have a 60. So as easy as that one. So that is how we will be solving it. So as I said kaganina, we will have a 60 here. So this is correct. It goes the same with our graph. So and so on and so forth. So let's just assume or solve the first 30. Okay, so I guess nawala ko kaganina. Oh no. Parang sa ako nawala. Okay, hala, wala ako kabalo asa ko nawala. So, I hope nga inyo na-follow lang siya og nagpadayon lang yapon mo. And klaro lang kaayo, okay? Oh no. So, okay, let's continue. Let's go back again. Okay, magbalik lang sa taha. So, let's have the another example again. Di na gyud ako siya i-mute dapat ang ako mic. So, this is the formula. Quantity demanded of x is equals to 80 minus 2px. Okay. So 80 minus 2px, we have this one. The price would be 0. So if the price would be 0, so we will be using the formula. So we will be assuming. So I think kabalo na gid mo ani how to fill up the demand schedule. So we will fill up the demand schedule first. So that the assumption would be 80 minus 2 times 0. So the answer would be 80 given nga 0 naman siya daan. So what if the next price would be a 5? So that's an example. So 80 minus 10, we will have a 70. So that is the um as you can see over here. So that is 70. So let's continue. So again, for zero dang price, we will have a quantity demand of this good X as 80. So 80 minus 2 times 0, we have 80. While next, we have number 5. Example, price niya kay 5 daw. So 5 multiplied by 2, so we have 10 plus 80, we will have 70. So it goes the same with this one. So 70 siya. So that is for quantity. So quantity of software nga sold. So quantity would be 70. So same siya sa toang graph. So what if our price would be a 10? Same sa toang graph. So the price would be a 10. So we will be using 10 as the price. 2 times 10, we have a negative 20. Less 80, we will have a 60 here. So a quantity of 60. So is this correct? Yes. So we are really filling up the good as the demand schedule. So as easy as that one. So it goes on and on na dayon. So let's move on to the own price elasticity. So we will be using this formula. So I'll just put own price OPE, own price elasticity. So the last one would be the total revenue. So we'll have this one, own price elasticity. So we will be solving it. So as to what we had did earlier, so we also did solve it using the same simple nga formula kaganina. So as we can recall, earlier we had given this formula 800 minus GPS. So we will be using this formula too. So under this one. So in order for us to get the own price elasticity of demand. So, but actually this is more on the elasticity of Q, quantity of X and PX. So let's solve it here. So for the own price elasticity, so we have elasticity of QX and PX. So that would be, okay, as per our given, as you can see it here, it is a negative 2x. So, wala, ayun na lang isa ka variable. So, negative 2x lang ta mag-focus. So, with that, okay, kaya negative 2x man, we will have a negative 2 here multiplied by, okay, negative 2 multiplied by px over qx. So this would be our formula in which let's have the first example. Kung ang price daw is 0, so negative 2 times 0 equals 2. 80. So the answer would be A0. Given nga anything you undefined lang po ni siya. So negative 2 times 0, that's 0 over 8. So undefined, we will get a 0.0. So let's try to solve it here now. So negative 2, okay. Negative 2 multiplied by 0, divide 80. So it would give us a 0. So that is for the first one. So correct na siya. So let's put it in the graph. We will have an a 0.00 na on price elasticity of demand. So let's continue. So what? How about the next? Okay, the next given. So same lang yapon nga formula. Next lang yapon ta nga amount. So equals to negative 2 multiplied by we have the price of 5 over the quantity, which is the 70. Okay, as you can see in the graph, 5 and 70. So how much would this be? So let's solve it using our small calculator. Okay, in a minute. So para mas maklaro yun ninyo siya. So let's solve it using this calculator. So we have 5 divide 70. So we have 0.117 multiplied by 2 negative. And negative 2, we will have a negative 0.14. Okay, 142 or 14. Let's stick to two decimal points as per our table. Okay, is this correct with our table? So with a price of 5 and a quantity of 70. So this is correct. So we did it right. So this is how we will be solving our own price elasticity. So and so on and so forth. So padayon na din ninyo siya. So I'll give you an activity nga mo complete pod og kaning own price elasticity of demand na schedule or nga table. So this is the answer. So negative 0.14. So if we interpret the negative 0.14, again, for every 1% increase in your price, it will lead to a 0.14 nga decrease in your quantity nga demanded. So there is a negative relationship between them, and this is a an lesser than 1. So the absolute value is 0.14. It is lesser than 1. So this is in a elastic demand. So inelastic ang 0.14. So anything under below 1. So these are in elastic demand. So we have it here. So correct. We'll put negative 0.14 here. So let's continue. So we will be using this one, price of 10 and quantity of 60. So let's continue. So I hope you are still with me. So as what I said earlier, ang price daw kay 10 and ang quantity is 60. So as per our table, 10 price and quantity of 60. So how much would this be? Okay, let's use our calculator. So 10 divide, okay, 60, we will have 0.666 divide, okay, negative 2. We will have a negative 0.08, 0.08. Okay, so that would be the answer. Oh, ano 0.08, 0.33. Is this correct? 10 and 60. Okay, try na ko calculate nga pabali ha. So, 10 divide 60. We have 0.1667 multiplied by 2 negative. Okay, sorry. Unsa to kung di ko andi ka ganina. So this is the correct one. It is 0.333 and negative 0.33. So we are correct. So we are following correctly our table. So let's interpret our result. So it is a negative. So as I said, for every 1% nga increase sa imuhang price, it will lead to a 0.33% decrease in your quantity demanded. Kay negative man ang iyahang result or ang iyahang sign. So how about the its absoluteness or absolute value? So it is less than 1. So this is an inelastic, okay, inelastic na demand. So inelastic demand curve. So that is how we will be interpreting it. So let's continue. We have a 0.33 here. So we had already almost done completing our graph. Okay. Mo ni siya to ang graph, hapit na siya mahuman. So we are already on done na ta sa P, I mean sa price complete, the quantity complete, and next is the own price elasticity. Complete na po siya. So ipadayon lang gyapon na ninyo og solve na dayon. So next is we are going to talk about the total revenue. So from the word itself, total revenue, total nga halin, total nga profit. So total revenue, its formula is as easy as you just need to multiply the price and the quantity demanded. So pila ang imong gibaligya o pila ang presyo sa imong baligya. So that is the total revenue or imuhang halin. Okay. So again, total revenue is, okay, price multiplied by, um, something like this. Um, our price is multiplied by the our quantity. So let's have this one as an example. So 80 multiplied 0, that would give us a 0. So let's plot it in the graph. So that's 0 for our total revenue. So how about the next one? So 5 times 70. So we have, how much would that be? So let's have the calculator for mas sure. So it's actually 250. So yes, the answer would be 350. So is that correct with our graph? So that is correct. So as easy as that. For total revenue, again, dali ra kay siya kay imo ra i-multiply ang price ug ang quantity. Okay. Again, i-multiply ra nimo ang price ug quantity. 0 times 80, 0. 5 times 70, we have 350. So it goes the same with our graph. How about 10 times 60? So klaro kay siya, obvious na kayo. The answer is 600. Okay. So that is how you will complete a given example. This one, kanina ang given ang formula. You just need to plot it in a table and complete the table. So it goes on and on and then you just need to interpret lang din, especially under the own price elasticity of demand. So we are done with the total revenue. So this is another example for own price elasticity of demand. So let's continue. So we also have a total revenue test. So given nga nag-solve na ta sa revenue. So revenue, as you had seen earlier, kaganina, it is more on the price multiplied by the quantity para makuha na to ang atoang halin. So kung pila ka buk imuhang gibaligya and pilang iyang price. So we also have this principle. So if the demand though is elastic, so EQX PX is greater than 1, an increase in price will lead to a decrease in the total revenue. Okay, na po daw siya interpretation. So, as you can see, if it is elastic daw, so this is under total revenue. I want you to take note of this one, okay? So total revenue, if it is elastic, I hope you can see it clearly. Elastic is greater than 1. That means an decrease. Okay, if mo decrease to imong price, that means nga ang imuhang, oh no, kung mo increase daw ang imuhang price mo, lesser daw imuhang total revenue. Ngano man, ngano mo gamay man imong total revenue? Because, kung mo taas ka og price, gamay mo mong palit, mo gamay ang demand. So, mo gamay po ang imuhang halin. So, that is the first one. So, we have elastic, again, greater than 1. Okay, again, greater than 1. So kung mas taas daw imuhang price, mas gamay daw imuhang total revenue or ang imuhang halin. So let's continue. So how about, oh no. So how about number 2? So if demand daw is inelastic. Okay, let's put it here. If it is inelastic or less than 1, so it will lead, an increase in price will lead to an increase in total revenue. So kung ano siya, positive daw iyahang relationship. So kung increase daw imong price, again, if less than 1 increase imong price, that means nga, mudako daw ang imuhang halin. So that's for inelastic. And lastly, if ang imuha daw total revenue, so we have this one, unitary, okay, unitary elastic, which is equals to 1 if the total revenue is maximized at the point where demand is unitary elastic or kung ano siya, kanang maximize na. So that means nga um more siya equilibrium ang unitary elastic. So perfect na siya. Tanan kay gakaapod, gakahalinan ka at the same time, mahurot pud og imuhang products og kapalit. So that is for the total na revenue. So again, elastic is um kung elastic daw ang demand greater than 1, okay, this one. Kung elastic daw ang demand greater than 1, then kung mo-increase daw ang price mo, decrease ang imuhang total revenue. So, ang imuhang halin kay mo, gamay. Kay kung greater than 1 daw ang result. While for inelastic, if it is less than 1, that means nga, kung mutaas na yung price, mutaas pa din mong total revenue. So, there is a positive relationship between inelasticity and your total revenue. While for unitary, it is kanang beneficial gyapon siya given nga maximize naman ang imuhang demand and supply. So, everything has been into equilibrium. So, as you can see in the graph, okay, I hope makita niyo sa graph. Okay, ako siyang padakan gamay para mas makita. Okay, so as you can see in the graph, and this one, this is our price per unit and our quantity demand. So this is our graph. So this is the demand curve. So point of unitary elasticity, we have this one. If the elasticity is equals to 1. So if it's equals to 1, so perfect na siya sa tunga. This is equals to 1 or unitary elasticity. While if it's greater than 1 here, so that means nga gamay do imong halin kay gamay man ang imong kuan gi produce. Gamay man imong quantity demanded kay taas ang imong price. So that is for elastic. While inelastic siya if it is greater than 1. So kung mo-increase daw imong price, mo-increase po daw ang imuhang ang quantity nga gi-demand when it comes to inelastic daw siya nga range. So this is the explanation. Okay. In a minute. So that is the explanation. Okay, in a minute. So I'll give you another example na lang. So I hope you can see it clearly. So we'll have this one. Mag-drawing ko ha para mas masabtan yun ninyo siya. So let's have this. Okay. Something like that. Okay, so perfect ka ako ang curve. So we'll have the demand curve. So example, mo daw ni siya ang demand curve nato. Okay. So for demand curve, I'll draw the kuan over here. Okay, in a minute. So example, mo daw ni siya ang equilibrium. Oh no. So example, mo daw ni siya ang unitary. Okay, we will have unitary here. Okay. Oh no. So example, mo ni siya ang unitary, okay? Everything meets here. So this is the um your elasticity. Your elasticity is equals to 1. So that is unitary elasticity, okay? I'll put UE here. So this is unitary elasticity Marshall equilibrium. So um, over here is actually what we call the greater than 1, ang iyang result or elastic. Okay. This is the elastic demand curve. While this one, this part right here is our inelastic. Okay, I'll just put INE, inelastic demand curve or lesser than 1. Okay, lesser than 1 daw um ang iyang result. So, why kuan daw ang iyang elasticity is gamay. Okay, let's use this one. Okay, kanang green. So, kung elasticity daw, that means, di ba, as what it has interpreted with regards to total revenue. So this is um, you all know price and quantity. So the blue one is the demand curve. Okay, so don't worry. So under total revenue daw, if it is greater than 1, as you can see, if ang price daw kay mo increase, okay, price increases, ang imuha daw quantity ay mo dang total revenue will decrease. Okay, TR will decrease because, example, kung taas kay mo ang price, so that means nga, gamay ra kay mo ang quantity nga demand. So, example, 100. So, imuhang price kinidagan ka og 90. So, actually, mao ra ni ang imuhang halin. So, that is your total revenue. Kani nga area. So, that is for elastic. So, diri, elastic siya. So, that means, again, negative ilang relationship. So, how about inelastic? So, we'll have an example. So, instead of 90 imong price, imo lang siyang get 20. So mubo ka og price. So, it would go here and probably imuhang na-produce sa ingato ka mubo is 900. Okay, 900 daghan kayo. So, okay, in a minute. So, kani nga area here would mean nga mo ni muhang total revenue imong halin. So, this is for inelastic demand. So, for inelastic, positive ilang relationship. Um, for an increase in price will lead to increase sa imuhang total revenue. So, probably ni-increase kagamay sa price and ni so ini-increase na daw ni probably ni increase or decrease ang imuhang price. But still, ang imong total revenue kay mo dako gyud siya always. So, most of that time, a decrease in price siya gyud ni siya. So, the lower your price, the bigger the quantity imo mahimo and the bigger um your revenue would be. Okay, so that area would be the revenue. So, how about the UE? So, we are done with elasticity and inelasticity. So, how about the unitary na elasticity? So, actually, for unitary, if um, the best manggod siyang, the best na time to have, again, unitary elasticity is that if your price and your quantity is going to the center. So that's when you'll know that there is going to be a UE or unitary elasticity more siya good as equilibrium kung mahalin na daw both ang imuhang ma-zero both imong price and your quantity. So this is the total revenue test or principle. Ako siyang gi-drawing para mas maklaro ninyo. So, same lang ni siya actually aning graph. Ako siyang, again, gi-drawing. So, um, the area here, okay. The area here would be elasticity. So, kani nga area. While, kani po ni area sa ubos is the inelastic. While at the center, we will have the unit elastic. So, it goes the same with our example, kaning sa atong graph. So again, same lang yapon equals to 1, greater than 1, and less than 1. So we also have what we call the quantity demanded time period. So total revenue, as I said, When total revenue goes up as price goes down, that means it is greater than 1 and the marginal revenue is 0. Total revenue goes down and price goes down. It is less than 1. MR is 0 and there is maximize din ang total revenue if it is the elasticity is equals to 1. So this is its curve, just a graphical presentation. So we also have what we call perfectly elastic and inelastic demand. Okay. So, kanina nga part makain ka nga sana all perfect. Okay. So, we have actually, okay, this one. Oh no. Oh, oh, what's this? Hindi siya makuha. Okay, so let's continue. We have this one. I'll just put a cute na graph. So, I hope maklaro rin ninyo siya. And just do graph here. I hope maklaro rin ninyo siya. Okay. So let's have here, so price and quantity, it goes the same with price and quantity. So natay duha ka graph. We have perfectly elastic and inelastic demand. Okay, so we have at least another terms to consider. We have perfectly elastic and inelastic demand. So as you all know what elasticity, elastic and inelastic is. So for this one, we have this concept. So natay concept daw. So na daw time in which example, ang na daw kay price. So nag-set kag price og 1 million. So example, 1 million daw ni siya. And there is an infinite nga demand daw given nga mauna siya nga price. So that is what we call perfectly elastic. So um example, imo nang na-set gud ang iyang price to 1 million, then probably the demand would be consistent too. Okay. The demand would be consistent. So that is what we, okay, no. So that would be the demand. Okay, demand. So this is what we call the perfectly elastic. Elastic, perfect. Okay, perfectly elastic. So this is the perfectly elastic demand. Again, maset na nimo imong price. Example, fixed na yung price ha, 1 million. So the demand is always continue gyud na siya. Infinite ang demand. So example for perfectly elastic nga goods kay mga luxury cars, mga gold, jewelries. Like example, ang Bugatti kay tag 1 million daw. So with that, always yun na siya nga daghan og demand perminti na gyud na sila mo buy given nga fixed na yung price nga 1 million lang daw. So example, what if ni pataas ka og price? So there is a big possibility nga ma-change ang flow sa demand. Di na nun kay sila mo palit, probably basin mo decline ang imuhang demand curve. So this is for perfectly elastic. So nagyud ni siya always. So example, we have katong mga Louis Vuitton or mga Gucci or Chanel nga mga bags. So regardless if unsa siya ka mahal, but most of the time fixed man iyang price, but still always nga taas ang iyang demand. So permi gyud na siya taas iyang demand. That is for perfectly elastic. So how about perfectly inelastic? Okay, sana all perfect. Perfectly inelastic. So, lahi po ni siya og concept because ang concept for perfectly elastic is that it would be based on our price. Okay. Kay ang quantity demand, ay no. Ang perfectly elastic ay based on the kuan man siya. Demand. This one is based on the price. So this one is based on demand where this one is based on price. So example, we have the demand here. So regardless daw if mutaas or mumubo daw ang imuhang price, that means nga mupalit gyud daw always. There is always a demand for that good. Okay. So we will have an example. Okay. So we will have an example. So again, regardless of the price, whether it goes up and down. So this one is kuan man siya pa horizontal ang iyahang curve. So more on the quantity demanded. This one is more on the price. Okay, kung where ang price daw whether it goes up or down. So again, whether mo mahal daw siya or mo barato, always daw nga nay mo palit. So example, for perfectly inelastic nga mga goods or mga yes, goods or services. For goods, probably kay tambal. Okay, example, tambal din sa cancer. Regardless if unsa siya ka mahal, kay mo palit jud ka, kay needed man siya nimo. So that is um for perfectly inelastic nga demand. So again, example katong tambal nimo sa imong nakisakit, tambal sa sakit, regardless if unsa siya ka mahal, makapalit jud ka kay needed man siya. So another example, bugas. Okay, we have rice. Especially as Filipinos, we love rice. So regardless of unsa ka mahal ang rice, mupalit jud ta kay para gyud natay makaon. So that is for perfectly inelastic. Okay, as you can see, 'di ba? Mura siya consistent kay siya. Same lang nga quantity ang ginapalit, but regardless of the price, mupalit jud siya always. For that's inelasticity, and elastic is more on the fix ang price, ang demand lang dayon ang ga-change. So, high siya og demand given sa yang specific na price. So, we also have other factors affecting on price elasticity. So, daghan do siya factors to consider too. So, we have available substitutes. Okay. Okay, we have available substitutes. So, more substitutes available for a good means it has a more elastic demand. So, the greater the number of kuan daw. Okay, in a minute. The greater the number, okay, we have the substitutes. Available substitutes. I'll just put it here. So the greater the amount, the quantity of, okay, quantity of substitute is, that means there is elastic. So elastic daw siya nga demand. So it is broadly defined commodities such as food that tends to be more inelastic than the demand for specific commodities like beef. So broadly defined commodities daw, any food nga mas inelastic daw siya tends to be more inelastic than the demand for specific commodities such as beef. So okay. So let's continue. So as I said, katudang broadly defined commodities, katong any commodity daw nga naadira kay mas inelastic daw siya compared sa demand sa specific daw nga commodity. So mas nice daw kung i-specify daw nga commodity such as beef, which is dali ra kay siya makitaan pud og substitute. So with that mas elastic siya compared sa kana bitawng broadly defined or wala kay makita nga other nga substitute ana nga pagkaon. So, the more it is defined or specific, the more elastic it go, especially based on our substitutes. So next one is we have time. So demand tends to be more inelastic in the short term than in the long term daw. Okay, so I'll put time here. So demand would be more inelastic in the short term. Okay. I'll just put short term here. That means it is inelastic. So, mas, kung daw siya again, mas inelastic daw siya if short term lang ang iyahang demand. So, the more time consumers have to react to a price change, the more elastic the demand for the good. So, kuan siya, demand tends to be more inelastic in the short term. Given an example, short term ay mga products, dali ra ka siyang ma-use or once lang ang iyahang um, pag-use sa imong product probably. So, with that, dili kay siya taas og demand probably. Um, dili ka siya taas og demand given nga again for short term lang siya, probably once lang siya gamiton o niya dili kay probably satisfied ang customer with that one. So the more consumers daw nga mas mo react pa daw sila sa price change, the more elastic the demand for the good is. So the more the consumer daw nga they react to a price change, the more they demand for good. Like example, going to the airport. Okay. Example, going to the airport. As you all know, regardless if kana bitaw how early are you or how ay no rather 'di ba going to the airport really takes time. So with that, the more elastic the demand for that good is given nga medyo taas siya, medyo kuti ang moadto kag airport, there are many processes to do pa before ka nga maka-onboard sa plane. So with that, mas need di mo nga mo you'll have enough time to think about it, especially when it comes to price changes. So most of the time, kung the earlier the better biya gyud ka sa airport always. So probably maka-avail ka og mga sakyanan nga mas barato, mas makatipid ka, and also kanang kabantay mo ng mga piso piso sale sa Cebu Pacific probably when you take and buy those tickets. So the earlier ka mag-book, the better, the lesser ang amount ng imuhang bayaran sa imuhang airplane ay sa airplane na ticket. So that is an example for consumers when it comes to their demand on such product or service. Okay, so let's continue. Next, we have expenditure share. So goods that comprise a relatively small share of consumers' budget tends to be more inelastic than goods for which consumers spend sizable portion of their income. So expenditure share is based on how much you um kana bitang you do your expenses, how much expenditure or imuhang gasto ang imuhang gina-allocate sa probably yung gina-allocate sa goods or other commodities. So sa imong example, sa imong expenditure share, you have at least 10%. So 5% kay for grocery, pagkaon sa balay, then the rest 5% would be for snacks. So probably that is how you budget your income. So again, sa imong um, income or kanang for yourself, 5% ato kay grocery and the other 5% is for your probably snacks or food. So that is expenditure share. More on how you budget again your money and um, how much you will be spending on such commodity and so on and so forth. So another factors that affects our own price na elasticity. Okay, so I guess I'll be ending my um my lecture here and I'll be posting the part 2 after this one. So thank you all for today everyone. I hope you had learned many things. If you have any questions, feel free to message me anytime. So this is all for today. See you on the next part. Okay, goodbye everyone and thank you.